Present.
Mr. Walker,
He's absent on the Zoom.
Mr. Becker,
Here.
Mr. Jeff Dent,
Here.
Ms. Goodman,
Yeah, here.
Ms. Kaminsky, Mr. Picardi.
Here. I've got a text that they can no longer hear us.
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Kyle, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay, great. Approval of the agenda. I'd like to amend the agenda to bring number 9, Transition Committee, up to the first order of business. Kyle, our candidate for new airport director, is joining us, but he has a hard stop here in 15 minutes. So if we can move number 9 up to number 3, please. Okay.
I'll approve the agenda with the change that you just recommended.
Thank you, Karen. Second by George. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Our transition committee has met. We interviewed, we had over 15 applications. We interviewed by telephone, I believe, 6 people. We, of those 6, funneled that down to 3, brought 3 in for in-person interviews, and shortly after those interviews, had unanimous approval among transition committee members who consisted of George, Dylan, myself. Lisa sat in on some of our meetings, that Kyle Malcinia was the clear candidate. We came to that conclusion in real short order. Kyle is currently in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and has been very involved in all aspects of airport management, from compliance on state and federal regulations to grant writing, public relations with the community, negotiating leases for office buildings at the airport, hangars, and you know, he has been on a team that when they started out at the airport, I think their balance sheet was about $100,000, and now their treasury reflects a cash balance of $6 million. So he's really grown and been an integral part in growing that airport. So I believe Lindsay has emailed out an offer letter that we would like to discuss, but Kyle is on the line with us today, and I thought it was important that our board have an opportunity to hear a few remarks of Kyle's and ask any questions of him prior to further considering our offer. So, with that introduction, Kyle, if you can hear us, would you like to say a few words about your interest in the opportunity and what you've learned about the airport to date, and any thoughts you'd like to share with our group?
Yes, first off, good morning. I'm not sure if you all can see me or not. I'm not sure how it is on your end.
We can.
As I told everyone when I was there, I'm from Michigan, and I really would like to get back to Michigan. I have, 2 young kids, and my wife is from Michigan as well. Just in the short time I was there, I fell in love with the community right away. In Cheyenne, we have around 40 to 60,000 people, depending on how you look at the area and how you draw people in. And, your area's smaller than that, but it's still got, the potential to grow into the same type of situation we had here, which was we started out with pretty much nothing and we're able to grow it into a large, successful airport. And I would really like that opportunity to come here and see that happen. You have the traffic that comes in there. It's just a matter of executing it and seeing that happen and working with the community to see that happen. I'm happy to answer questions you all would have of me.
You were here, so have you in your head, most people when you're looking at a job, you start thinking about different things, but in your head, have you thought about maybe a 3 to 5 year plan for us?
Yeah, so, excuse me, one of the very first things I said I'd do is I would want to start reaching out to fuel suppliers and seeing you know, who's out there, what options they have, looking at how the airport want to structure FBO versus internal employment and how they want to structure that. And then start looking at what aircraft fly in there the most and start seeing who would want to possibly look at building a hangar and who would want to station there. And one of the very first things you want to do is try and look at seeing if you can get a jet to base there. Because when airports and when people who have their aircraft based at another airport, you know, a lot of people do have multiple hangars. And when they pull up the 5010, well, it used to be the 5010 document and now through ADIP, they want to look and see, well, what other aircraft are based there? And if they look at it and one of the very first things they see is a jet, it helps them decide, yeah, that's a place I want to be. So within like that first 1 to 3 years, you want to look at is trying to find another tenant that could base there, build a larger hangar. And through that, as you start talking to these people, is looking at possibly building another large hangar to try and entice some of these people from Traverse City, Grand Rapids, you know, because both those airports are running out of room, fees go up, and pilots can be stingy. And so you want to try to attract these people to say, hey, you might land in Grand Rapids or Traverse City, but you can overnight here and just try and build that traffic. And so I would say that in 1, 3, and 5 year plan is basing a jet, building a larger overnight hangar, and attracting some of those customers with the best fuel prices you can have in the area.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your involvement in building a hangar in Cheyenne and what you did to recruit? Really, in the professional community, there's a number of doctors who have medical office buildings on the airport and then hangars that resulted from that.
Yeah, so we have a medical building in Cheyenne. What our offices are actually in called the Parkway Building. When I started in Cheyenne, we only had one tenant in this building, and what we did is we talked to her and said, you know, do you have any friends that are in the area that are looking for office space? She said, yeah. She put us in touch with these people, and we were able to talk to these people about at least, you know, how long they're going to stay in practice, and we were able to fill up our building with doctors, lawyers, psychiatrists, and we were able to fill a building, which is one of our big income drivers, is just that one office building. Um, Through that, you know, doctors have airplanes, and we were able to talk to them about leasing out hangars, and we were able to fill up all of our T hangars. And we were able to also bring in an A&P shop, which is called Carter Avionics, and they've outgrown their hangar, and now we're looking at building a large box hangar because we've run out of space. Part of that is also going through the FBO, where we collect tail numbers, talk to these people and say, you know, where are you at right now? Look at them coming here and trying to base them out here with better prices. And we're at the point right now that we have 5 challengers that are looking for a place to call home, which is now allowing us to potentially build a large box hangar, just use that rental loan to fund the building.
Kyle, you've looked at the proposed budget that we've sent to the county. Are you confident that under your leadership, if this board makes an offer to you, that you could operate within our requested amount or likely under the requested amount in the coming fiscal year?
Yes, I believe so. And I think I was able to kind of show that in what I submitted to you, showing where I think the money could be, you know, cut, reallocated. And I believe that, yes, you can make that budget work.
Mm-hmm. In year one of your tenure, you think that you would be capable, not necessarily from a field perspective, but from an office perspective, of not filling the deputy director role?
Yes. I don't think the airport's at a point yet to get that position. I mean, even in Cheyenne, we don't have that position. I mean, I kind of act in that position, but for a year, we didn't have that position. And before, you know, they hired a deputy director before I started, and his was a new position. They didn't have that before. They kind of, I think, was more of a test out. Not very many airports have that unless they're a large airport. They do it either externally, some of those positions, or I mean, they'll hire like a finance director or someone like that. But deputy directors are not that common in a lot of airports, especially ones of your size.
Sounds like you've been at Cheyenne for how long?
This is my 5th year.
5th year?
Yep.
So you certainly feel confident about giving us a long-term commitment?
It's a scary thought, but like I said, I'm from Michigan, and my wife is from Michigan. We want to get back to family. I've kind of hit what I can do out here at this point because there's nowhere for me to go up unless the director were to leave. And I mean, I have all these projects in the fire, but it's, you know, you got to pass things along to other people eventually. And I think that's kind of also what I've seen happen here.
That's going to lead into my next question. We have been fortunate to have leadership that has been ongoing and have been here for years. And has established a good routine and process. How many years, Barry?
17?
17 years, and then Bill was,
He was over 20.
yeah, over 20 before that. So hopefully we have the ability to suck people in and have them stay around. But you're coming into a new team, a team that has been pretty much well established for many years. What's your leadership style, and what can you bring to this group?
My leadership style is, you want to show people how to do things, but you also want to let them learn on their own, but, never cut people down. I believe in teaching people skills to the point that they could leave tomorrow, but treating them so well they don't want to leave. But I don't believe in just coming in and, cutting everyone out. But you don't always want to stay in the old ways, but you want to make sure that people are brought in, have the ability to stay where they're at. And like I said, always having the ability to grow.
Great. Where in Michigan are you from?
I'm from Lansing, and my wife is from Caseville, Kindy area, up in the Thumb.
Okay, well, she might understand winters a little bit more than, they get quite involved up here.
Yeah, Cheyenne has taught us that our very first snowstorm was 3 feet in 24 hours. So we've learned snow.
You'll adjust.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? Well, Kyle, we're pretty excited about, your interest in us.
I'm
Okay, I just want to add a couple thoughts. You mentioned kind of the 10 years with Bill and myself. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity because this is going to open up a lot of opportunities. Stuck in your ways is the negative way of expressing the consequences of having someone around for a long time. And I think, honestly, going into this process, I would have never expected that we could have attracted someone as qualified as Kyle. He actually should be going at a better job than this. But
No, don't listen, don't listen.
Thank you, Kyle, for considering this. Honestly, I mean, generally an airport our size, we are the stepping stone of, and some of the other candidates that were good candidates would have fit more that mold. With Kyle, you really have a great opportunity for this place to take off.
Kyle or Barry, would either one of you like to share, of the 3 candidates that we brought in for in-person interviews, I think Kyle was the only one that contacted Barry prior.
Yeah, we spent
to
like
spend
4 hours on a Sunday afternoon, chatting. So, very good questions. I mean, I've been worried about how this transition would go. Kyle can step in and
Makes you feel better about it.
it makes me feel a lot better,
Can
yeah.
actually retire.
And I just want to say, you say, I should go to somewhere better. I did have better opportunities, but I going through school, I was like, oh, I'm going to end up at a Boston or something like that. And I realized as much as I like Boston, I do not want to be at a large airport. I like being at an airport where you can interact with everybody. I want to be at a place where you can see it grow. I'll be honest with you, I had opportunities from Duluth. I had opportunities from Boise. I wanted to be back home, and I don't like searching for jobs. I want to be somewhere I can be for 30 years. I never want to leave a place I go to. Like I said, I think during my interview process, I thought I'd be in Cheyenne for the rest of my career until I had kids, and I realized that seeing grandma and grandpa through a phone is not a family. So, I mean, I do believe that this is a place I can stay at for my entire career.
Well, we'll do our best as a airport authority in a county to make sure there's plenty of runway out ahead of you. So, thank you.
Oh, God.
Kyle, do you have any thoughts or comments you would like to share with our board before you depart? I know you're on limited time with another commitment regarding our offer letter to you that we may deliberate.
Yeah. So I reviewed the draft offer letter, and so here my current benefits I have here are 100% covered, and so I would just I had no problem with the pay. I think the pay is very fair for a salary. Is if there's a way to get the benefits closer for, I think we had in there fairly covered for me, but for dependents up to like maybe like 82% or something like that versus what it's currently at. And maybe possibly some sort of coverage or moving costs. But outside of that, I think everything else was very fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
I thank you for your time.
Meeting in person.
All right, good job, Kyle. We'll
Thank you.
chat further. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good day.
thanks. In respect of the guests that are here, I think Ben Munson from Contour is on the line, and, we have Susan here from Contour with us as well. Why don't we shift over to the Contour presentation, and then we can come back and deliberate, Kyle's offer. So I think Contour has been making some steady improvements on multiple fronts. And July was a tough month with respect to reliability and in some creeping delays. So we asked.
I'll add to that, that June was really when it started, so June and July.
Thank you, Barry. So true to tradition with Contour, I think at least when I reach out to them, anyone on the team is highly responsive, like usually within minutes or hours, not days. And that's representative of what we have here in Ben and Susan on the line. So if they want to talk a little bit about what's going on, we would appreciate the update there. Ben, are you here, or Susan?
I believe Ben's on the line.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm on the call, and thank you for having us, Barry and Adam, and the board.
And thank you for allowing me to join in person. I'm glad to be back and get to meet those of you who I didn't meet when I was here a month ago, and get to see everyone that I did see a month ago. As you mentioned, it's been a bit of a challenge as far as on time has gone over the last 2 months, but our completion factor has improved month over month and quarter over quarter. Do y'all have the presentation?
Do you want me to bring it up?
That'd be nice.
That'd be great. So just while Barry's bringing that up, our first quarter was, started out a smidge rocky, but we had just a few days after the DOT awarded the bid to get going, and so we had a little bit of, very little ramp-up time to get started. However, looking at the presentation on the next page, the summary, you'll see that the completion factor, the controllable completion factor, has improved month over month, and in July we are at 100% for the controllable completion. The on-time factor is where we need to improve, and we recognize that. The on-time factor is driven by a couple different components, and primarily it is crew rest, and it is also maintenance, and then any type of operational concerns that we may have coming out of Chicago. In Chicago, I'm sure you have all heard, and many airlines are experiencing that, there have been a lot of delays and operating issues there. We have spent a great deal of time working with our partners in Chicago to try to improve that performance between Envoy and our fueler, Swissport. I've actually been to Chicago a couple times now, I think 3, and to monitor the situation, make sure that we are making improvements. We did sit down with our partners just a few weeks ago. I was in Chicago, and we sat down with our partners to discuss the concerns we had and see what path we have going forward to improve those factors. So I did want to point out, though, that we have onboarded more passengers in the last, our onboarding has improved quarter over quarter. That is on the next slide.
I guess you're.
We can go back to details. Yeah, let's go back to the details, sorry.
You want the details?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm jumping out of away from our slide presentation. As you'll see, the length of delay, we have been operating at about 80% with less than an hour delay in July. So the on time has been at about 51%, 30 minutes or less at 16%, 30 minutes to an hour at 11%, and 1 to 2 hours at 8%. So that represents just over 8%. We obviously do need to make strides to improve the 2 to 3 hour and the 3 to 5 hour delays that we've had. Some of that has been, of course, weather and fuel delays, but the bulk of it is crew rest. We're addressing the crew rest portion of it by altering our schedule. Ben made a change a few weeks back to the schedule, which did not have a great impact on Manistee, but it did have a slight impact. But we do have another schedule change coming specifically to help address the crew rest issue. We are pulling back the the second flight, the last flight, making it at about an hour earlier, so that we are able to have a little bit of extra time to recover should we have fueling delays or crew rest delays. That way we can rebound properly before the next day. Maintenance, we have made a firm commitment in Manistee with maintenance. We have hired 2 on-site maintenance folks here, and then we also have a contract with a maintenance firm in Chicago to also improve the maintenance. So we have made a very deep commitment to the area in making sure that we can handle the maintenance performance issues that we've had.
What's the change in Chicago with respect to maintenance?
We have hired a firm there.
That you didn't have?
That we did not have previously, correct, Steve.
And when did they
Yeah.
start?
Maybe
Go
I can
ahead, Ben.
jump in on the specifics. And good morning, everyone. Hope I'm coming through clear. Adam, the thing that we've done in Chicago, historically, we had our own technicians, 1 to 2 folks there. That was always kind of a challenge for us from a staffing perspective, and just some of the challenges working in O'Hare of, just keeping folks kind of at the airport, as well as just kind of the nature of only having like a couple folks with vacation and things like that. So we worked starting in May with a much larger organization called FEAM. They've got a large presence in Chicago, a lot of regional jet experience, and they've got a commitment of 2 technicians kind of full time for our full schedule, in addition to uh, coverage in the early morning hours, kind of later into the evening. And what that allows us to do is just make sure that we've got touch time on both sides of the airplane, and adequate coverage on both ends of our route into Manistee. Coming back just to make sure it's really clear for the group on kind of what our biggest controllable issue has been in Manistee is with regards to on-time performance, is related to crew rest, in some way. So what that is, our crews need 10 hours of like rest from a regulatory perspective, and I think most of us probably agree that'd be like necessary from a safety of flight perspective. And so has ended up happening with our current schedule is we've got a little bit of buffer off of that time to protect the schedule integrity of the next day, enough that would normally be adequate. But Chicago, the airport as a whole, has had just enormous challenges this summer, not specific to Contour, but across the board with all carriers, including United American. And if you were to look at their operational KPIs out of Traverse City, you would see this as well. So what ends up happening is if we've got a delayed flight coming in, I think what's happening this morning is a great example of this. There's a ground stop in Chicago for a couple hours. The day prior, everything gets thrown completely out of whack in your schedule. And then if the crew is kind of too tight on that crew rest schedule, it carries into the next day. and then you're kind of working again to get back into a recovery situation. And so what we've done starting, we loaded the schedule probably about a month ago now because we saw some of these numbers. They weren't headed in the direction we wanted them to be going in. We saw the root cause. And we loaded a schedule change that takes effect August 14th. And what that does is it pulls forward our evening flight into Manistee, not in a way that I think breaks the commercial viability of the schedule in any way, because we want to keep really strong connectivity and keep up the strong commercial performance for our benefit, for our mutual benefit, of course. But just gives extra buffer, I think a little bit over an hour of additional buffer that will let, if there is a ground stop issue, a weather issue, if you have a mechanical issue, something of that nature, to be able to recover more easily the next day than we're able to do today. And that same move also gives your maintenance team additional touch time on the aircraft to be able to address any issues and keep the next day's schedule on time.
Thank you. One of the causes for delay that I heard was your fueler. Is that right? Ben, would you be willing to commit to having a conversation with our new director about looking at the viability of purchasing more fuel here in Manistee? I know AvFuel's based in Michigan. I think they may get aggressive on price. If we could eliminate some of the delays attributable to your fuel in O'Hare and bring some of that revenue here, that may be beneficial to Contour, its passengers, and our airport.
Absolutely.
Would
That would, if we could find an economically viable way for us to fuel in Manistee, that would be outstanding. And you're right, Adam, and I think we put this in the presentation. There's only a couple fueler options in Chicago, given our relationship with American and the situation where we are. We use a group called Swissport, and it's just been just candidly a nightmare working with them. We've started doing a little bit more outstation fueling, but kind of like where we are today, and in more of a targeted way where we know they have staffing issues and things to try and mitigate that. But yeah, I think if there's a path where we can pick up fuel in Manistee, then that's would be excellent for our operation. And
Well,
yes,
perfect.
so yes, I would commit to that.
Well, let's commit to having that discussion the first week in September. Our new director hopefully will be here by then. There'll be some great transition period overlapping Barry and Kyle to the extent the parties can reach agreement. And I think that should be one of the first conversations. So if we can look at doing that in the first half of September, that'd be appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay. Susan, anything else?
We want to go through the next slide.
Go after this one?
We've actually talked about that, Ben just went over the fuel vendor, so yes. And then commercial update, just wanting to emphasize that our booking ratio is going up. We have more bookings, they are increasing, as you can see out at 90 and going up, that we are still bringing on additional employment. We're up year over year from your previous statistics and our previous statistics, so people are still choosing to fly out of Manistee. They're not going elsewhere to fly. So I wanted to make sure that that was evident in the slide.
Both on departures and arrivals.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And so to sum it up in a sentence, you believe that your changes you've made to flight schedule will impact crew rest positively, and your contract with maintenance in O'Hare will address that, and cumulatively, that's about just under 55% of the root cause of the issue. Is that
Correct.
what I'm understanding? Okay. And really, when we look at it now, this is a July 1 to July 24, so it does not include June, but really, 15, 20, 80% of the delays have been an hour or less.
Correct.
And to put that in perspective for the board, 15, 21, that's 21 flights over the month. That would be an hour or more. Okay. Anyone else have anything for
Part of the report, I have comparable type of statistics for June, so, and the overall percentage is similar, so.
Okay.
Is the pilot staffing adequate?
My understanding that it is.
Yeah, we don't have any issues from a pilot staffing perspective. It's just been about when we say kind of crew issues, it's crews getting in like last night, couple hour ground stop in Chicago. We've biased making sure, and again, especially in the summer when our flights in Manistee have done so well, completing all of our segments. And we want to be able to keep doing that. So, and when I say that, just to be clear for the board's benefit, if you looked at like American or United yesterday, they're canceling trips out of Traverse, and that's how they kind of reset and get the schedule back the next day. We haven't biased doing that. We try to complete all of our flights, just knowing we're the option and there's not other flights to go to. And so we want to be able to keep doing it, but without sacrificing on-time performance in such a significant way. And so that's where we think the schedule change it creates a compromise where we're able to get kind of the best of both worlds.
Hopefully O'Hare cooperates with your schedule
And
change.
I'll just add some perspective of kind of for the board to understand. So, basically, there's roughly a minute-for-minute delay next morning if a flight comes in at the previous night late. So, I mean, the schedule is an 8:40 arrival, 8:40 departure, it's a 12-hour window. 10 of that is crew rest, travel, just getting here, getting set up, typically takes the others. So, for example, the flight last night came in after 11, so about a 3-hour delay. So this morning's flight will go out about
3 hours late.
3 hours late. And, you know, people come here on a beautiful sunny day and it's like, why is my flight delayed? And they don't understand that it's due to yesterday's issues in O'Hare that caused this morning's flight to be delayed. To the passenger, it's like, it's just bad Manistee, why am I choosing to fly out of here? So that,
Let me,
corresponding crew rest issue has very significant impacts, and it really accounts for half of our delay, because pretty much for every delay there's for another reason, there's going to be a comparable crew rest delay for, that next day.
June 16th is probably what got me. So I had a ticket bought through United, went to bed at 11:15. I got a text from Contour, which, I figured what happened. I woke up at 3 in the morning and decided to make some pivots, and was able to get out of TC that same day because I bought a ticket out of United. So my suggestion, which you guys are already on top of, it's your world, and that is changing the schedule to allow for some issues as they arise.
A little bit of breathing room.
Yeah. So have you heard any feedback from inbound customers with the $100 Manistee cash? Any feedback at all from anybody?
Our flight attendants and pilots have heard very good things. People are very excited about it. It gives them a little bit of extra surprise when they get here, and everyone likes having a little extra cash in their, in their wallet to go spend. So I don't know that it's driving people here, but when they get here, it's an added bonus and surprise.
Since we're on that subject, I've flown the flight a few times, and I would maybe ask that if we could just ask the flight attendants to stick to the script.
Sure.
They ad-lib a little bit, and sometimes it's unclear.
Okay.
And maybe, instead of in the last 20 minutes, if they do it up front, I think some some portion of the people are really unclear what it is and
Okay.
what's going on. And some of that, not all of it, but some of it is attributable to the way in which the message is communicated. But overall, I think a great success to have the leadership of Contour providing that support on the plane, Contour's financial support, and then of our local entities here to conceive the idea and execute it within 60 days is a testament to the cooperation of all stakeholders.
We're happy to help with that.
Thank
It's a
you.
great promotion, and it is really exciting for the community to have that large of an involvement.
Thank you.
If I could just ask Dylan, I mean, since he's a board member and he's had issues that I think have really now driven him not to be flying out of the airport he represents, you know, I think this is a good forum, and you may have already communicated this to, the parties online, but if not, I think now would be a good opportunity to have your perspective as well.
Sure. Thanks, Barry. And thanks, Susan, Ben, for joining us today. I'm just backing into a parking spot at Traverse City Airport. So I think, you know, from my perspective, you know, the 51% on time rate is just a flip of the coin. And for business travelers that are counting on your service to get to where they need to be for a job, for performance, it's key that you're not putting us in those odds of 50-50. So the airport world is, you know, you're either at like a less than 1 hour layover or a 4 hour layover. So we tend not to book the 4 hour layover. So if we can't get out of Manistee on time, we're kind of screwed for the day. So I'll leave it at that. I appreciate you guys are making changes and making the efforts. I would just encourage you to keep doing that and hopefully still keep listening to your customers.
Well, the only thing I would
Yeah.
add to that is nothing gets people, I mean, people know when you fly, things are gonna happen. But if it's the drip, 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 because you don't wanna cancel a flight, and then you're sitting there and you could have made changes, or you could have done other things to accomplish your end goal, and you're just trying to hang on to that client, and all it does is inflame. So, you know, that, need to be cognizant of that.
You want the information up front.
Absolutely, and the full story is better than the piece of the story.
Barry, do you feel like you're seeing that, the communication is improving since I was here last? Because we started to implement some changes on communicating the delay.
I'm not getting feedback from passengers,
Okay,
but I am actually hearing from your staff that they're frustrated, that they're not getting the information about what's really going on, and putting them in a position where they can't communicate to the customers. 'Cause
And
they
that's
don't
been
really know.
recently since I've been
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Okay,
Been
all right.
within the last month, so.
Okay, we've got some communication plans to improve that. We've done some scripting and as we talked about, outbound messaging, and we're gonna be launching that very quickly here. We were just facing a couple technology problems, making sure that everyone was on the same page, communicating, but that will be changing. But we have been making strides to improve that in the last few weeks.
And I would just add is I think it's a hard environment to work in when you're dealing with a lot of operational issues, and I think the morale of your staff here is not the best right now as a result of that.
Good to know. Thank you so much for letting me know that. We'll address that.
So right now, do the passengers know that they're on a 3-hour delay today?
They do.
All the passengers have been communicated with.
Yes, they do. I checked on that right away.
Thank you. Anyone else, anything? Ben, thanks for, I think you're on vacation today, so thanks for coming in while you're endeavoring to spend time with your family.
Of course, this is important, and thank you for letting us participate. And happy to kind of circle back, you know, maybe after a full month of the schedule change. And you know, I think one thing that would be really relevant is to get us, you know, we're sharing this, you know, not the information to say like 51% is acceptable or where we want to be. Chicago short haul is always going to be a challenge. Like I said, I think the carriers at Traverse are kind of mid 60s, but we want to do better, meet or do better than that. And I'd love to be able to circle back with this group and be able to report out on how the new schedule does and how we can continue to improve. And absolutely have that fuel conversation.
Well, we meet the third Monday of the month, so why don't we plan to have you back the third Monday of September? That'll give us about 60 days for performance improvement, and by that time, we should have at least had our first conversation on fuel. So the agenda item will be performance and fuel on the third Monday of September.
That's perfect.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
And then I'm happy to stick around after the meeting if anyone has any questions.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you all.
Great, you know,
Feel free to continue sitting in and listening.
it's open to the public.
If you want, don't feel like you need to, but
Um,
You've got
It's up to
phone calls
you.
to make, I understand too.
I'd love to.
Okay, let's come back to, while we still have Dylan, I think he's gonna try to get on a flight here shortly. Are you still with us, Dylan?
Yep,
Great.
I'm here.
Okay, can we come back to our candidate offer with Kyle for director?
Adam,
Thoughts?
can I
Yes,
start? Okay.
please.
Thanks everyone, and I apologize I can't be there today. To vote in person, I would be voting yes on extending an offer to Kyle. The time that we've spent together, I think he's beaming with potential, and he sees the potential that the airport's at, that the board and Barry has put us in the position for this potential. I think he's interested in going the vision that we're interested in going. And I think he's got the tools in his pocket to help us get there. One of the things I'm excited about is he shared an example when he worked with a regional carrier on sort of sorting through some of the chaff in terms of excuses and getting down to brass tacks of reasoning for some operations issues, and that improved moving forward. So I would like to see everybody vote yes in terms of supporting extending an offer. I'm excited. I'm excited about the potential. So that's what I have to say about it.
How much more time can you be on the call, Dylan?
I'm gonna walk up to the ticket counter and give them my bag, and then I might lose you for a few minutes while I walk through security, but then I'll get back on.
Okay. Why don't we just go around the horn here and start with George, as you've been on our transition committee.
I met him personally, and yeah, everything you see there is pretty much what you're gonna get. He's very on top of it. He's motivated, he's got a ton of intelligence, he's been through multiple airports, but not like a back and forth. He's got some time in him, so he's not just moving on to a place. So I think he's gonna be a great choice.
I'm absolutely amazed we got a candidate of his caliber and at his age. Got experience. The reports I've got from the people I've met have been fantastic. We're very fortunate, and I think we got a long-term candidate, so it's all good. We need to make it work.
Did he share his experience with the FBO that he dealt with in Cheyenne comparatively to like having it, the employees in-house?
Yes,
They brought it in-house.
They did bring it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
and in a way that is, so, Mead and Hunt did their study and looked at different operating models. He actually has experience with yet a different model, which is essentially having an FBO that is a for-profit business, but having it owned by the airport. So the airport authority owning a for-profit business kind of as a separate entity so that it still can operate with a business mindset for profit to generate revenue that ultimately flows into budget that helps accomplish everything. kind of an interesting blend.
Is that how they're operating right now?
That is,
Yeah.
and that is, he's very bullish on bringing that model here.
That's what we need, I mean, in terms of experience, right, oh, that's great.
I think he looks like a great candidate. I just wanted to, I know that I pushed that we meet him. There's a couple of reasons. One, an interview group is great, but you never want to hire that person from just your interview group because that leaves the board exposed. And it leaves you as an interview group, whoever it was, at risk of Aaron Goodman coming up 6 months when the guy doesn't do a great job and goes,
How could you?
you guys made that decision,
Right.
you know, things like that. So, that's why I pushed today. It just makes it better if the whole, committee, you know, knows the individual or at least has some sort of ability to ask a few questions. I think he did a really great job. I think that, I felt a little hesitation about how long he's gonna stay, but that will be our job to, encourage him to stay longer and, not make it horrible for him. We might have other people sometimes. But, I think that he has a great potential for moving us to the next level. I have no problem.
And to provide a little context, I believe that hesitation is, a month ago, he actually basically mostly accepted an offer down in Benton Harbor. And basically attended their first board meeting, dug into things there a little bit, and basically said, I can't do this. There's too many issues here that are issues. So I think he's.
That's another plus in the.
But it's, I think it's reservation on his point is, he wants to really understand what he's getting into. But I think once he gets over that transition, all of the other factors are motivating him to be here.
Well, you know,
I think one more big part is too, is community involvement. He looks like he really wants to get the community involved so they can see what this airport can be, what the potential is, and aviation overall for the whole area.
And then,
I just was gonna say, there, from what I was hearing out of today's meeting, there's a lot of opportunity, from what I heard from Contour, some logical processes to improve, to increase efficiencies, fixed-based operation out of the airport authority. It allows everybody to be accountable, as opposed to everybody pointing this way. So I see positive movement.
yeah, I think it'll work out. I hear
How
his wife
old was
is.
he?
Oh, he looks like he's
you can't ask that question, Preston.
I would say he's like 30-some.
So,
Oh, it's
kicker.
Young enough to stick around, old enough to do what?
I was gonna say that Lisa told me his wife works in daycare.
We've got opportunity coming there too.
Huge opportunity.
you know, to the point about how long is someone gonna stay? I've had 2 positions in 21 years. And before I took my first, I asked the employer, could I come shadow for a week just to see if we were a good fit for each other? And he said no, because at the end of the week, and I said, I'll do it at no cost. He said, at the end of the week, you're gonna be on your best behavior and I'm gonna be on my best behavior, and neither one of us is gonna know any more about the other on Friday than we did on Monday. And the most telling thing about Kyle's wisdom that I heard in his remarks today was teach people and empower them so well that they're able to leave, but treat them so well that they don't. And that's the way that this board will retain talent that could go anywhere but choose to stay here in Manistee.
No, I agree with that, and I thought that for whatever years, he has under his belt, I thought that was an extremely wise statement for someone. The other thing I'll tell you in regard to that same comment is Scott Ward, president of the West Shore College, made the comment, yeah, about people coming and going. He says, if I got a rock star for 2 years, I got a rock star for 2 years, you know?
I can't tell you the amount of jobs that I've had
Absolutely.
every 5 years.
You've had commitment issues, I just say.
Well,
So-
it's the thing of advancing, so it's like, I heard that he wants to advance his career, which is good. So if we give him enough of a challenge here, that's good. You know,
Right.
my experience is bigger opportunity.
So, well, and, you know, everybody chuckled when I made the comment about having enough runway out ahead of them. But really, at the heart of that comment is, you know, hangar growth, runway expansion, terminal expansion. There's enough substance in this airport that to the extent you provide him the resources to grow and pay him for the value that he delivers, I think that's what's within our control. We can't control what the other airports in the world offer him, but if we're doing our job here, I think that's what we can do. So, with respect to his offer, I think both in his comments today, with all of us, and in his comments to me, a couple of things from where we are now. There was no negotiation with respect to the salary, but our offer to him was 75% of health care for his dependents and his spouse, and he asked, I think, to split that with us up to 82.5. I've learned from Lisa that there is some statutory requirement that we can't go up that high, is that right?
Right, we,
80
yeah,
is the
so
max?
authorities do not have the ability to opt out of PA 152, which then requires the employee to pay 20% of said healthcare. So I mean, we can come close to his, but as we talked before, I mean, there's things you can do to offset that 20% cost. Karen and I were doing some calculations and conversations if he's interested in, or we want to offer some moving costs, there could be some potential as one-time lump sum payments, not added to their base salary that, you could offer. So I don't think you're far off from that. The other conversation that the authority is going to want to have is, in that offer letter, you spoke about a retirement plan. You could do a defined contribution. We could do it probably through Empower, our 457, and provide a match. We had said up to 4%.
That would be better for him, actually.
He had mentioned to Adam 6, but I think the healthcare is gonna be more of a, bargaining tool for him. And, we had some conversation on the way here about you can always up that percentage as a form of, if you choose to do an employment agreement or contract with him, which I think would be a good idea. But there could be an incentive in there to increase that contribution. If we say, nope, we're steadfast at 4 right now, in a year or two, you could up that 1% or 2. So there's a lot of different ways that you could make it more attractive for him.
Well, the question is this. We are quick to ask the question, what's your commitment to Manistee? He did not ask, but what I would ask is, what's Manistee's commitment to me? Boards change, leadership changes, very easily, people that work for boards can get caught in politics. And so, that's risk. And, you know, for that risk, you know, and to Lisa's point of an employment agreement, you know, do we want to make some commitment to him? Do we want to offer termination has to be for cause? What do the terms of an employment agreement look like? And if we don't want to go down that path, that's fine. But there's the trade-off then. Okay, you want to give him an extra 2%. I mean, really, at $92,000, 1% is $920. So to give the guy what he's asking for here, to go from 4 to 6, is $1,800. For somebody that we really think is going to take this airport to the next level, $1,800 doesn't seem like a big risk on our behalf to have an at-will employee. So
would you leave his salary the same and do
Yeah.
like a 2% retention?
you know, I really don't know, what I'm putting out on the table for the board is to say, if we don't want to have, an employment agreement that can only be terminated for cause, and if we're gonna have an at-will employee, you know, on its face, we all think, well, we want to negotiate with somebody. You want 6, we want 4, let's settle at 5. Well, in numbers, what we're talking about is $920. So that is simply the point that I'm offering. With respect to the healthcare insurance, you know, we're bringing somebody in from across the country. A guy with a family of 4, $2,500 moving concession, or whatever the number is. I haven't called a moving company, but when you can go out in the marketplace and compete, it's customary that, as part of a package, relocation expenses sometimes offered.
I think everybody here understands that piece and the importance of, you know, trying to bring somebody in and retain them. The things that we're caught with, are, you know, $92,000 is a pretty good salary, starting in this community. So that's one thing. 2, adding to that 2% or, you know, for retention stuff's an easier pill than putting forth, you know, $12,000 as part of here's the insurance stuff. So always going to that percentage is a easier financial burden, because as a county, we only have so many dollars, unfortunately. We want to grow this airport, but, you know, reality is that Sheriff's Department wants to grow and do some stuff, and, yeah, I mean, everybody wants something, so we have to be
Well,
very,
and you have to be cognizant of public dollars, I think,
you know,
too, and.
PA 150.
What I'm hearing is, his only hiccup was with the healthcare cost, was the primary one. So the question becomes, that he's probably not aware that we have the state law that falls under. So he needs to be made aware of that, number one, and then number 2 is figure out the solution to accomplish that, to where we all meet in the middle on it.
Because we're looking at a $21,000 price tag if he, you know, if you were to go with our coverage, family coverage is $21,400 annually. So, I mean, that's the BCN, right, yeah.
That's the total cost,
Mm-hmm.
so. I
That's
think
at 100. That's at 100% or 80%?
100%. So his portion would be about $4,000 a year, $4,200 a year, if he took on the 20%.
So really, he's coming from a state that has no state income tax. We have in our budget 115. If we gave him a one-time lump sum payment of 4, we pay him 92. We're at 96 after we pay 4. Healthcare is resolved. We're now at 96. We're still under what we had in the budget, and he
You had
comes.
a range in the budget.
That's fine. And he comes in there and really set aside his salary in the budget, we submit to the county a request for an extra $150,000 in this fiscal year.
On a
So-
$500,000 deficit budget, you want $150,000.
Hold on a minute, Karen. And he comes in and he says, I don't need that. I can operate for less. I can take out a director. Let's look at operating for less. So I think the point I'm making is here we're talking about $3,000 and $4,000, and the guy says, well, I think we can save the county tens of thousands. So,
I don't think anybody's arguing there. The question becomes, what's the answer to the solution for the $4,000?
well, right, because I think that's what we need to
You're talking, put it
decide.
into that salary, we're talking, there's probably other options.
I don't know if I would put it in the salary.
No, because then your legacy,
Right, I
I'd say
agree.
a one-time,
Yep.
Yes,
Well, the only catch on the one time is, okay, that next year is another year.
well,
We gotta figure it out again for
that's
another
what
year.
you negotiate in his employment contract is, we'll give you this year, and then, you know, whatever the terms of the contract are, maybe it's the first year only, and then second, third year, you know, you're responsible for the 20%.
Well, what's going through my mind is, a motion to, make the offer of the 92,000 and to negotiate the benefit package.
And he wanted moving,
Pardon?
he talked about moving costs.
well, I guess my question is, if you make that motion to pay 92, and you say, leave it up to the chairman and county board and whoever you wanna leave it up to, whoever's negotiating the final terms has to have,
That's also come back here, no matter what, final terms,
well, then
spending money.
why don't we just do that? I mean, we're trying to get a guy here, and he has to make a decision if he's gonna sell a house, get a realtor, get a moving van, and be here in 34 days.
I don't see anybody in opposition to that.
Right.
It's just a matter of figuring out that term of the
How to
benefit.
word it, and how to do that.
Yeah, and what's best for him? I mean, we can do that one lump sum, but, or if we did that percentage, that's ongoing,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And it
The legacy.
benefits him in the long run.
We're not gonna solve this issue here today. We've gotta figure out a path forward with his negotiation.
Well, I think that's what I'm trying to
You
solve.
have to have it outlined.
You're not gonna solve it, because you can come up with a solution in your mind, and it may not be a solution in his.
That's the offer letter.
Yeah, he has to either accept it or decline,
Negotiate it.
yeah.
Well, I think what I'm saying is this, is we've presented an offer that's not been approved by the board.
Correct.
So we could make a motion and a second and a roll call vote and say, here's your offer. And I know right now, at this moment in time, before we do that, he's made a counter to it.
Well, I know, you sent him the offer letter already.
Sure, because it's in our board
Which
packet.
shouldn't have done prior to, I mean, yeah, whatever, that's just process stuff.
So, if we say for the first year, I mean, if we wanna leave here with a decision so that we can move forward with the offer and him relocating, you could do a 1 year, this is what you're gonna get this year, and then we'll discuss for future years.
I don't think he'll go, I think that's too risky.
I wouldn't move for 1 year,
Yeah, me
but
too.
that's me. You know, usually what we do is have 3-year contracts renewed annually.
I guess I think what we're talking about here is really $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
So first off, I like what you just said. 3 to 5 year contract. I think we can agree to that, a 3-year at least contract, starting at 92,000 salary.
Not
Okay.
to go below.
Right. And now is the additional money.
We
I
could
have,
do a one-time cost.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Gotta
Okay.
come up with that
I'm good with that
cost
as well.
again.
Now,
Not
What's
to
the amount?
exceed, not to exceed,
So Karen did a little search of moving from Cheyenne to Michigan, and it ranged from 34 to 14,000, and that's just depending on how much stuff you have.
Yeah.
So if you're, you know, in an apartment, it's probably gonna be on the lower side. With a family and, you know, it's gonna be,
at least 3 bedrooms, you pack
You
them
know.
up if they want them to
got
pack up.
trailer.
So what do you say, 5?
I'd say 5.
Okay. Okay, so that's a one-time moving of 5. 92 on the year.
And we could say 2 options. A percentage within your retirement account, whatever,
You're gonna do- what do you have to-
or, yeah, additional 2.
so the
Match
match
before.
up to 4 with the
Or-
457.
Yeah, or,
Or
because
Roth.
we have a, 2080, we can
For
give you
the
a lump
health?
sum of 5 percentage, 42.9.
So let me ask you, in that scenario, is he choosing, is it a either or, either retirement contribution or benefit?
What about an opt-out option for benefit, health benefit?
He would have to have other coverage to opt out.
Yeah.
Did that initial offer have any match in the
Yeah, it was 4 and 75% of,
health?
for the family,
So what's the 2%? What's the cost of that, the 2%?
$1,800.
Or you could do what, the 2% retention? Is
Why
that
don't
what
we
you're
just
saying?
keep it at
One or the other?
4% and then say we'll cover the 20% for 3 years?
Can't do that.
We can.
Dylan,
that
are you
again?
online?
Just cover the rest of his health for the term of the contract?
Well, but
Well,
you can't do it in that form.
That-
You can do a one-time payment,
Okay,
So,
give him
yeah.
a bonus of,
not a
Can't do a
bonus.
bonus.
Can't do a bonus.
I know, it's
I'm
all
really good at
government.
HR, obviously.
Retention pay.
Yeah, retention.
Retention.
A one-time lump sum payment, yeah.
That's what I'm
It's
trying
all
to say.
about words.
It's all for our auditors.
You can do a 2% retention.
But that's what I,
Well,
retention.
throw that in there, 2% retention.
Okay,
Is it yearly, the retention?
Yes.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
3 years of contract.
3 years.
so what does that mean?
Because I just didn't like the 1 year, because I think that's too risky on his part.
Right,
And we're only, you know,
So basically, it's not added to a salary. It's a one-time payment. to
Okay.
help offset, well,
the,
you can
Yeah,
use it for whatever you wanted, but
Sure.
basically it's to help offset that 20% of.
Okay, so that's,
So
So
instead of
it's
it being
1840.
4,000, technically it would be, what would that, it's 2,200.
well,
Wait,
1% of 92,000 is 920, so if you double that, you're at 1840. Okay, so you're gonna give him, you're gonna give 100% of the healthcare for him, 75 for his family, and, well, that's,
80/20.
80/20.
okay, so you're gonna pay 80% of the health, 100 for him.
No,
No.
80.
You can
well,
only-
if he chose, so I think what Adam's saying is if he chose to go with just a single plan,
Have a single plan for himself and one for his family?
Well, I think what he says is, I'm at an airport right now, and all my kids and my wife and me are covered at 100%.
correct, so that's gonna be this cost here.
Lisa, does it matter if it's single or family plan for the coverage? You still can only pay up to 80% no matter
Yeah.
what.
Correct,
Is it 21,000 for the family plan?
correct,
Okay, so that's the max we're gonna pay.
yeah.
So,
So 21,000 would be, yeah, the airport's obligation.
Or 80% of that 21,000.
right.
Well, but the way you're talking now, it's still
Well,
21,000.
correct,
Yeah.
but still.
Yeah, so 20% of that 21,000 is like 4,291. So that's the amount we're discussing as a one-time lump sum. So you could say, you know, whatever, 4,000, whatever you wanna
So
choose.
my question on that whole thing, that becomes a red flag for me if I'm sitting in his chair, because it's a one-time. What about next year? What's my
Well, but
solution
you,
next
in
year?
your employment agreement, you would say for the terms of the contract. So you would get a one-time every
2%
year.
retention, yeah,
every
that's fine.
January
Okay,
1st
as long as we're on
or
that
whatever.
page.
So it covers it.
Yep, okay.
What I'm thinking is a 3-year contract, with a small bump in starting salary and then also the lump to make him whole. That's how I see it being spread apart.
Well, his out-of-pocket for the family is $42.91 a year, is that right? Do I
Correct.
understand that right?
As of today's numbers, yes.
Right. Okay.
Which is roughly 4%.
Right.
And let's say he gets moved here, his wife finds a job, they have insurance, we also give him an opt-out option, of
At
X.
that point.
Yeah.
Got a job for her, but she's not gonna want it.
So you're not thinking any match on a retirement?
4% still, I think.
Is it still the 4? I think
I
that's
would
fair.
be in favor of it.
I just wanna, when we're putting this together, be clear.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then with the other options, so HMO is the base plan, so there's other options available for healthcare. I would say if he chooses to buy up on any of those, we would write something in. That would be at his expense. Just so we're clear that, you know, this is what we're offering as your, as the healthcare plan. Anything additional?
The other thing about the at-will, all of our contracts are at-will.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. At-will, which, at-will in the state of Michigan is there, but hard to do.
So as in my contract, I'm at will, however, there are some,
Stipulations.
right,
I do the same thing.
yeah, okay. So kind of what we
Yeah,
looked
you
at
just
the
can't
other
come in on
day.
Monday morning and say, hey,
Right.
yeah,
Or the board changes and says,
Exactly. yeah.
Hmm.
we don't like the way your hair looks. Do it. Do it, Dale.
You can do that.
okay. And so how are we addressing that number with him?
As a one-time, we'll figure, we can figure it as a percentage, or we can just say, we're gonna give you a one-time payment in January, on January 1st for this amount of money.
One time for each term of the contract? or-
Correct.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
And 3 years, is that what we're,
3 years, renewed annually. So he's always got a 3-year window.
And if
Well, he's
he
got a
leaves
one-year
before
window.
that, he has to do a payback.
well, generally, the renewal is for salary and,
Keep him that way.
okay,
That's my motion.
Great, thank you.
I'll support.
Lindsay.
I'll talk to you
Let's
later.
change this, discuss.
92,000 salary, 5,000 moving expense,
One-time payment,
yep, of 42.91. Great.
And 4%.
And 4% match on retirement.
yeah, 'cause that was already in the,
Okay.
And that's been 80%.
Yes.
on the
Yes, yeah,
versus
yeah.
75.
right. I will change that. And I will put something in there referencing PA 152.
He's definitely gonna watch this, so.
I just might get towards Lansing.
Roll call?
Mr. Adamdot?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Dot?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes,
Mr. P. Cardy?
Yes.
he's gonna have his shoes, big shoes, because he's got lots to do.
Okay,
All right, I'm gonna bail
thank you, Lisa.
so I can get
You
work
got another
packet.
board meeting to get ready for, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Thank you, everyone. I have to drop off. Have a great week.
See you, Dylan.
Safe travels.
okay, well, it looks like Public comments next on the agenda. Any public comment? Anyone online for public comment? Okay, hearing no public comment. Contour, we've done that. Approval of minutes from the June 16th regular meeting. Okay, any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, George. Is there a second?
I'll support.
Thank you, Preston. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Treasurer's report. Susan?
Hi.
Hi.
Just need you to approve the bills, but I'll give you a heads up where we are with, payments regarding. That 639,128 is the June payment. So we're just waiting for the June reimbursement to come back, so hopefully we get that, so we can, if we get through July.
Our turnaround's getting better.
Yeah, a lot better, and then we did have a little bit of the PFAS, payment. Are we almost done with that grant?
Yes.
Yeah, are we done, like,
It's not closed yet,
okay,
so there might be
a couple more, okay.
small things.
And that is reimbursing, so we'll get that, 100% back. Had a little bit, cost for the advertising for the FEO and the FOB. Other than that, everything else is pretty status quo.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, so is there a motion to approve? Are we doing these one by one
Yeah,
here?
just do the accounts payable first, Adam.
So moved.
Mhm.
Second.
Okay, this will be roll call.
Mr. Adam Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Downs,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman,
Yes.
Mr. Pecardy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, and then we have the revenue and expenditures and then the trial balance. In the AES fees for Contour, that's, April and May, so it's for 2 months. Last week we did receive the June, so they're all caught up. And then everything else is status quo for that. Just wanted to let you know everybody is good to go. Did you guys have any questions about any of this? So that 599, 536 is the May, so once we get the June, that'll be good. So when you're kind of looking at that bottom number of the negative 585, just keep in mind, that includes that $639,000. So, I mean, if you take that out of the equation, you're back in the good, yep, so.
The reimbursable that's forthcoming for you.
Yeah, so,
Okay,
yep.
is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Karen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
George? Thank you, George. Clerk?
Mr. Adam Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Downs,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman,
Yes.
Mr. Pecardy.
Yes.
General fund?
Yeah, we did all that. The only other thing that, I do wanna point out is those PFAS, or not the PFAS, but the, passenger facility charges from year to year. So last June, it was $2,500, and then this month was $35. It's about $1,000 difference because of the extra passengers that are coming through. So, you know, it's only
Up.
so it's only $4.38 per person, so I mean, if you divide that by 1,000, you can kinda,
250.
you can kinda, so,
So that's a good thing, thank you.
we're good. There was nothing in that Fund 481, the capital improvement fund, so that was it for the treasury's report.
Okay. So should we get a motion to approve that?
I think we did, didn't we? We just did that, yep.
Okay. Committee reports. Executive committee did not meet. Capital projects committee. George, do you have anything? Okay. Budget committee, I think our work is interimly done in that, we have a draft budget over to the county for review. Bylaws committee, I think, is that Karen and Preston?
Yeah,
Here.
we were going to accept the bylaws. Yeah,
It's not ready, so.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll come back with a draft at our next meeting.
there was no big change. Yeah.
Okay, car rental committee. Car rental committee did not meet. Enterprise, I think everyone's familiar that Enterprise has indicated they'll be here. They are serving, customers, Contours customers, I think pretty exclusively Contours customers, and, they have identified a manager who's in training for the last couple of weeks, and in the interim, Contours front desk folks are doing the agreements for the rental cars. There's an agreement that authorizes your employees to, check in and out Enterprise folks. So thank you for Contours' cooperation on that.
Good experience for them, and it's been successful. In my previous life, it was successful at several airports, so I was very happy to be able to sit through that meeting. I was here that day that the Enterprise folks were here. Great addition for you all.
That's good.
Barry, do you have some update on signage and when signage may be erected and so forth for?
Yes,
Is that in your report?
Part of my report, but
Okay.
I can give it here. But what I would suggest is, I don't think there's a reason for the car rental committee to
Take it off?
that.
Great, wonderful. Well, in that spirit, can we do the same for the bylaw committee?
I would wait until we
Make the
approve
changes.
the final bylaws.
Okay. Transition committee, we've taken that up, so I think we're on to director's report.
Okay. Here again.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, there are copies around. So no accidents or incidents during the month of June. The GSA lease, is going through its process, so that's still pending. On the door security system, AES, which is our door vendor, installed the necessary equipment on our front door. We needed different locking mechanisms to tie into the new card readers. So now that that's done, which happened after the last meeting or between meetings, now we're waiting for TKS, our security vendor, to do their last tweaks to tie things together. So that should be wrapping up very soon. On EAS, I've kind of been, offering some words of caution as it relates to what's going on in Washington. But in the last few weeks, both the House and Senate are moving their transportation bills for the coming year, their spending bills through the process. And in both versions, in both the version out of committee in the House and in the version out of the committee in the Senate, is full EAS funding. So despite what the White House has requested, Congress is currently moving forward with fully supporting the program, which we are very dependent on. Our annual FAA airport inspection is likely to happen now in September. This is actually my request. I was hoping that it would happen when both our new manager and I were here, so there could be some handoff of that. They were looking at an August date, but since I haven't yet heard when my schedule is, given that we're almost August, I'm now anticipating it to be September. Enterprise car rental update. So Adam already mentioned some of this, but when you leave, if you look outside along the fence, they now have space signs posted. So that happened last Thursday. Also last Thursday, we took delivery of their monitor screen, which hopefully will get installed today behind the counters over there. So pieces are coming into place, and as Adam mentioned, their employee who's gone through training is now kind of getting hands-on training. I I heard in Muskegon, should be starting here soon. And I think that will really be when we feel that we have enterprise here. Currently, you can't, there are oddities right now. Currently, you can't book a car online for the weekend. It's just a Monday through Friday thing, which doesn't really make sense, but that's just how they've set things up. And until they get people, their own people here working through those issues, it's just kind of, we're in transition, kind of a soft opening for them.
Can we ask them to change that?
We can, yes. So.
Why don't we? I mean, I don't understand what complications it would cause.
And the other thing is that currently you can't return, according to the website, you can't return a car after 5 p.m. You have a flight that comes in at 8:40.
I suspect, though, they were committing to being here on the weekends.
Yes, no, it's just.
Well, what I was guessing is most small cities, they don't plan on the
I think
weekends.
they just kind of put in a template of a
Right.
city office,
Right.
not an airport, and.
Right.
And then currently, because of Contour handling them, they're really not servicing non-airline passengers. So Victorian is basically still operating here through the summer and is handling all the GA traffic. So we really have two vendors right now for this.
Do you have a camera on your lot, wherever they're gonna be parking their cars, or do you have a camera on your front door?
Both.
Because then they can commit to letting you do weekend dropping, as long as you have a camera that you can see the car was dropped.
They will have installed a max hours drop box, actually sitting in a box in front of my office. Just, when they showed up last week, I wasn't here, and I said they couldn't install it unless I was here because I wanted to approve the final location.
So is there a date that you guys have all
I have
agreed
not,
on?
again, I have not heard the date for, to me, the date that we're looking for is when their employee shows up.
No, I mean the rescheduled date for the drop box and signage and so forth.
I responded saying, how about Friday, and didn't hear back, so,
Okay.
no, I don't have a date yet. So, that's all of the details around enterprise that I'm aware of. Looking at our statistics, so passenger enplanement, as was mentioned in Contour's presentation, this is for June, where I've got final numbers. We had about 20% bump versus Cape Air a year ago in June, and it was essentially in line with my projections. I projected 1,800 and we did 1,836. So, Contour is tracking according to projections. And then as you'll see on the on-time performance, it kind of mirrors their July numbers. They had one canceled flight in June, and 51% of flights were delayed. And then kind of my version of the information they have, these aren't apples to apples because they're taking kind of industry standard, which is 15 minutes of arrival. Well, I don't know when things are arriving in Chicago, so I'm doing it from departure here or arrival here, depending on what the flight is. So it's a little bit different, but it mirrors, what they were seeing. This max delay, so because they don't cancel and ultimately submit for reimbursement of flights, there was one flight in June that was the evening flight of 8:40 that finally came in the following morning at noon. So that's a 15-hour delay. That was there were no passengers on that at that time because everyone had been reaccommodated elsewhere. But that
Still needed the plane.
that was what reflected that number. But, a good number in June were of those long delays, greater than 2 hours, 19%, which actually is comparable, I think, you said roughly 80% were less than 2 hours, so it's, you know, the numbers are very equivalent. But what you'll see here is the number of delays, you know, 51% is not quite double the April and May numbers, but we did see a significant increase in delays starting June and then July, for all the reasons that were discussed earlier. This just is just my numbers that kind of correspond to what you heard earlier. Airfares. Our average fare is roughly in line with Traverse City, which, again, is not where we would like to be. Historically, Traverse City has always been a very high fare airport. That has changed over the last few years as the number of carriers and the number of options up in Traverse City has just ballooned. So that competition up there has brought down fares, and it makes the competitive nature landscape a little bit different. There still is a huge benefit of the fact that we don't charge for parking, which is most airports' number one source of revenue. So, you know, once you take into account parking fees, that levels that landscape a lot.
So is this saying that you can fly from Traverse City to Chicago for $179?
Out of Traverse City with advanced purchase. So these are all 30-day out fares. We're trying to get good fares. If you're a business traveler and you're booking less than a week, Traverse City will be 2 to 3 times.
So, you know,
So that is the one area that Contour has a huge cost fare advantage over all the carriers in Traverse City, is that Manistee to Chicago, or Northern Michigan to Chicago, last minute type option, you will routinely pay a third of the price that corresponding ticket out of Chicago would cost.
it just seems to me that most of the people, there's not a big exodus of people in the summer leaving Northern Michigan, going to Chicago as their final destination. And the more relevant fare is Chicago to Traverse City or Chicago to Manistee.
It's the same either direction, so.
Well, then they've come down quite a bit, because it used to be $500, $600, $700, $800 Chicago to.
If you're booking out 30 days, you can get a $179 in August right now.
Well,
That's what this.
Haven't we said that most of the market isn't booking out 30 days?
Depends on what your purpose of travel is. Business travel is gonna be more short-term. Leisure travel tends to book out longer because you're planning vacations farther out.
I thought when we were meeting with Brandon that we were seeing that most of the people were, booking shorter term.
In general, because Contour is very good at pricing for short term, yes, we tend to see more bookings near term because people can find a much better deal.
Okay.
Again, in that Manistee to Chicago, when you're connecting on, those things aren't as noticeable or prevalent.
Thank you.
And actually, I didn't include it in my presentation this month, but since you bring it up, I'm gonna mention it. I'm gonna bring up another file, because I want to see the statistics. This spreadsheet doesn't make any sense, but it's meaningful to me. So for that, so we don't have good numbers that directly show how many people are connecting through Chicago versus how many are just traveling to or between here and Chicago. I've always used our PFC collections as the proxy for that. So basically, if people are booking on Contour directly, the assumption is they're probably just an O&D Chicago passenger. Doesn't mean that people couldn't buy 2 tickets, but generally, if they're connecting on, they're buying directly through American, United, or some other site that's really selling them a combined ticket. So therefore, using that as a proxy, the data for this year so far, January through May, which is what I have data for on PFC, shows that our between Northern Michigan and Chicago, our number of passengers are up about 75%. On American, our connecting passengers, and this is versus a year ago on Cape Air. So huge increase between Manistee or Northern Michigan and Chicago on Contour this year. Connecting through on American, we're down 34% versus Cape Air. United connections are up 72%. Now, Americans are about 3 times United. So while that percentage is huge, the number of connecting United passengers isn't as significant. So what this data is showing is that it's just a snapshot, is that Contour is working very well for people who want to get to Chicago or from Chicago. That's where we're growing most. We're actually shrunk versus Cape Air for the connecting opportunity. I don't know why that is. From my perspective, the only difference is that Cape Air had a code share versus just the interline. I don't think that that would make that much of a difference, but it may impact how American priced things, such that the code share actually generated better pricing than the interline does. So it's just, overall we're doing very well. Numbers are growing significantly, but most of that is being driven by Manistee, Chicago. It's not being driven by connecting traffic. So, again,
Is that seasonality?
This is January through May, so soon I'll be getting June data, so then I can add that in. So, and yes, it could be seasonal. I mean, this covers most of winter, which is different than summer. It's just kind of, again, I wasn't going to present this yet because it's just like, data, but since you started asking a question about Chicago, it's like, no, we're actually doing very well in Chicago. Our issue seems to be in the connecting traffic. So, back to my...
I may ask, would better insight as to where passengers are traveling to be helpful to you?
It would. I mean, eventually that will come out in C100 data,
Sure.
but that's delayed 6 months, so it'll be the end of the year before we see what that looks like.
I wonder if it's not a credibility and reliability issue for the same reason Dylan and others. If you're connecting, particularly during the summer months, I think it's a leisure traveler. Well, a leisure traveler wouldn't care about.
And they generally are less sensitive to that stuff than a business traveler is.
Right.
So, I can't pinpoint any one thing. It's just the statistics are jumped out at me as this is something to at least be aware of and track. So.
I may be able to shed some light onto that. As a traveling passenger, you can't come to the Contour site and book the AA ticket. Quite often, people would discover, oh, you're a partner of, because I can book the ticket here. So that may be part of the downward drive, potentially. But I think we could achieve that with some education and, perhaps some marketing on our side, on our website. That might help as well. You can also ask for just a quick conversation at the counter. usually can have it in passing. Most people will cooperate, you know, oh, hi, where are you traveling today?
Well,
Chicago, your final destination.
my last slide, so because of, we're doing the promotion and we're basically gathering people's contact information, at our last meeting, with Right Side Design and, Contour's marketing rep, we're basically gonna, each month, the rest of the summer, do a survey of our passengers based on that information. And that's some of the information we're gonna look to gather, so.
That's the marketing piece we've been talking about, adding at our counters, where we just have a simple, quick question, you know, where is Chicago your end destination, or where are you going beyond that? Most people, if you do it conversationally, will be happy to explain. If anyone asks, we'll just generally say, for marketing purposes, we'd like to be able to offer more connection times to wherever you're traveling. So if you're traveling to Denver, you're traveling to San Francisco, we'd like to know that. And then, particularly business travelers, want you to know that. So that's something we can easily do in a quick conversation. We can just do it on a spreadsheet.
Good idea.
People check
The
in.
more data we have, the better we are.
We can talk about that.
Any other questions on airfares?
Barry, this is Stephanie. One of the things that we could offer too is our air service team does quite a bit with location-based data. So basically, you know, cell phone information that we could look at too, if you're interested, of where are people coming and going from, that might have some of that. You know, are they deadheading into Chicago as opposed to connecting? Those are some things that we're doing some different analysis with as well. So something to think about later.
Okay. So from a capital project standpoint, not much has moved in the last month, although that is about to change significantly. So on our main project for this year, our RSA safety grading, area grading, runway lighting, new beacon, other than the beacon, because of the bill funding still not yet available on that. We have a pre-construction meeting on that later today, and that will actually hopefully lock down the schedule. And just to remind everybody that that schedule includes a closure of our main runway sometime in September for roughly 10 days-ish. So I have kind of put out feelers to some individuals at Contour to say, this is coming, but I don't know dates, so therefore no one can really do anything until we have dates. Hopefully this afternoon, we will actually have dates from the contractor that we can pin that down. So it's never a good thing to have to close the airport, but every number of years, there are certain types of activity, construction activity on our runway that requires that. And we are at that level this year. So that is that, and I will know more later today. No updates there. You know, from my numbers on the Contour performance, so in June, we were up 19% over 2024. July, you know, we're trending about 50% up. And that's just because we now have capacity that we were lacking under our previous commitment. August and September are also looking very good, although with closures in September, that will obviously impact that. Year to date, our enplanements are up 36%, and as a reminder, to reach 10,000, we need 40%. So, you know, we're currently going to be looking at being just shy of 10,000. But again, I think given the new funding formula and getting a new airport director in here, that's actually a good place to be, is just under primary airport status for next year, as you then, you know, surpass that the following year and then deal with what that means to become a primary airport. Booking trends. So in June, the number of raw bookings were up 54% versus Cape Air. So that number has steadily been increasing over the last few months. Again, we are in the peak of summer. We now have capacity that we've lacked in previous years, so that's what's driving a lot of that. And then, you know, load factors and kind of projections. So my internal projections were for 2,600 passengers in July. We're tracking right around that number right now, maybe a little bit less, depending on how the last few days go. My August number was also 2,600. I think that might be a little bit shy on that. You know, if I were guessing right now, looking at where we are, I'd say August is maybe closer to 2,500 is what Contour will do. And then September, my, you know, estimated number is at 1,800, which pretty much mirrors what June was. And then I'm just kind of showing in there, you know, frontier years and how, you know, we were significantly above Cape Air, but yet we're still behind where we know that potential can be. Of course, that was with a larger aircraft, 37 seats under a 121 carrier versus limiting to 30 seats under Contour's Part 380 service. But the load factors are, you know, comparable. So there's still opportunity for growth on top of where Contour is. And then we've already talked about the Manistee Cash promotion that launched shortly after our last meeting. And I really, I know Adam said this earlier, but I really want to say this could not happen without Contour's efforts. They're doing the bulk of the legwork day to day, from getting the entries onto the aircraft in Chicago to the announcements and the in-flight stuff and collecting them afterwards. Most of the work in the ongoing promotion is on Contour's side, so really, really thank you for that. And we're getting a lot of benefits because we are building our email database based on that data. Now we can leverage that information going forward for marketing purposes. And I already mentioned we're planning on doing a monthly survey, and Contour has actually agreed to contribute some free tickets as promotions for survey, incentivizing people to partake in the survey. And then we're continuing monitoring our digital spending campaigns as needed. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, so that's Director's Report, old business. Seeing none, we'll go on to new business. We're down to consideration of agreement with Mead and Hunt for PFC services.
So Stephanie, if you're still on the line, you might want to talk to this.
I am. I would be happy to if you'd like me to.
I think that would be good.
Okay.
And I will try to bring it up on the screen while you start talking.
Okay. All right. Well, you have what's called a passenger facility charge. That may be a new term for some of you on the board, but basically what it is for every emplaned passenger that you have leaving the airport, you are able to collect $4.50. Your air carrier, in this case being Contour, collects it on your behalf. It's charged on the ticket. They get a small processing fee, and then you get the remainder, and you are able to use that towards projects. Most airports use that where they can towards a local share of capital projects that you're matching federal dollars. You have historically been working with Primary Airport Services, who has been your PFC consultant. They indicated, Barry, I'm not sure how many months ago, that they were no longer going to continue to do that for you. And so you're in a position to need some assistance with that. What we historically do, as you'll see in the proposal, is it's strictly a time and materials basis. And so the airport's required to submit quarterly reports through the FAA database. We would assist you with developing that, and then any new applications that you would need to complete. Right now, where you're at, you have about $200,000 of collections still available to you, meaning we need to collect that before we would be in a position for a new application. But should you continue, as Barry just mentioned, with the increased employments, you're going to close on that number quicker than you were under Cape Air. So we find ourselves where we may be looking at a new application sooner than later.
Stephanie, we don't have 200,000 left.
Oh, you don't?
No. I mean,
Oh,
we will
okay.
run out of collection authority first half of next year.
Oh, okay. Well, then SOAR's not up to date, so I guess that's even more why we need to get that updated, because that's what we're seeing in SOAR. Okay. All right. Well, then take all that back. Then we do need to sit down and discuss what's our next projects that we'll want to do a new application for. What I highly anticipate is that you may need our services for this. This may be something that Kyle has the capabilities to handle once he gets on board. And so, we may not need much or any of this. We were proposing for it to be through the end of 2026 that we could assist get this new application then up if one's needed, which it sounds like it is, and then be able to move forward. I believe, Barry, have you done, I don't believe Primary Airports has helped you with the quarterly report, right? So you've got one that's due here in a few days?
Yes, so
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Okay.
And actually, I believe, a quarter behind as well, so.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's fairly critical that we get that in. If PAS has not helped you with the first quarter, we definitely need to get you up to date with that. So,
Yeah,
again,
they dropped off handling us second half of last year. So
oh, okay.
I've been doing the quarterly reports myself, I think starting with Q4 last year, was the first one I did.
Okay.
So.
What's
Okay.
the recommendation here?
Well, so this is in next year's budget. It is not in this year's budget. So my recommendation would be that we not enter into this agreement until the new year, because that's when it's budgeted. However, my concern is I don't know how long it takes to put through a new application for a new PFC, what that approval timeline is. And I am concerned potentially that we would lapse in PFC coverage, basically be foregoing collecting revenue, because we didn't have a new application approved in time when the current one expired. So.
And that's taken about 6 months right now to get through FAA.
So, and when you say 6 months to get through, from when it's put together and then submitted to FAA and take 6 months for them to approve, or 6 months from when you would start working on it to approval?
It's about a 6 to 8 month from the time that we confirm what projects we want to include. FAA has changed their process probably since the last time you did an application, and that historically we got them to bless the projects in concept, and then we would do the carrier consultation, et cetera. Now they want the entire package vetted with them, so they want all the cost estimates, all the justification, et cetera, all put forward to them before FAA blesses it, and then they allow us to go out for the consultation with the air carriers, which is 30-day pre, 30-day post for comment, et cetera. So, if we knew exactly what projects we were going to submit, say, this Friday starting August 1st, we're probably looking at least 6 months from that point forward before we would have a approved application. So to your point about, not wanting to lapse, Barry, the sooner we get under contract and get that application figured out, the better, so that we've got time for any potential hiccups that could come from FAA's review.
So what's the termination date? When do we lapse?
There is no date. It's when we basically run out of money. So the
And that
previous one
projection
was
is when?
approved up to a certain amount of collections.
Right.
So depending on how many passengers and how much revenue
So
comes in.
based on our projections, when does that end?
March, April.
Okay,
My best guess right
March.
now.
March, so let's call it March. And, let's plan on February. So, this is August, 4 and 2 is 6. So we're right there, right?
That's why it's on here. there's just a lot of complicating factors, because it would be really good for Kyle to be involved in this since he's gonna be living it. But the timing doesn't work for that starting today, but obviously it will continue on. There's budget considerations around when this is budgeted versus not. So
Stephanie, what do you think the amount of, time and material is great, but we have no idea what our exposure is.
Sure.
What in this fiscal year, which I think expires September 30, is that true?
Yep.
Okay, great. So in the next 60 days, what sort of charges do you think we would incur by having you get underway if we approved it?
I'm guessing under $5,000. It's basically going to be a call, which we could, a meeting, which we could do virtually. We could just do a phone call with Barry, and then whatever group of the board, it could be your capital committee, to discuss specifically what's in your CIP. And so that's kind of a tag on to what we want to look at your CIP of what projects do we need to include and want to include in this application. It could be things you've done historically that you're looking to get your local share reimbursed. And it could be looking forward to say what new projects are on the horizon that we want to include so that we can collect and be able to pay for the local share. So that's the big effort here in the next, I'll say month and a half for us to get accomplished so that we know what we're including. And then we need to generate basic cost estimates and justification materials that would go into FAA to substantiate why we want to include those projects. So
could we change this, Stephanie, to not to exceed 5,000 to get the application filed?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, what do you think?
Well, that's 5,000. That was through your fiscal, which you just asked of the fiscal year. It'll take a little bit more than that because once we submit it to FAA, then we've got to do the consultation with airlines. All of that would happen in your new fiscal year.
Well, I think okay, but my question was to get it filed, what's the cost, not what's the cost over two fiscal.
Got it. I mean, to get it filed, we're probably closer in the 10 to 15 range, probably closer to hopefully 10. It helps that we only have Contour that we need to coordinate with other area airports. We have more users, so.
I just want to be clear on terminology. Filed or approved?
Right.
So
I mean, the process that we have to go through.
The process to, start, file.
I'm kind of a bottom line guy, just
Right.
all in, give me the bottom line
Okay,
number.
that's what I thought you were asking, so to me, that's not filed, that is approved. And I'm not sure if Stephanie was giving you a number for the whole process or to get
Well,
it to.
in the next 2 months, her number was $5,000.
Well, yes, that was the original, but then she just gave you a 10 to 15, because I was, from my previous conversation with you, Stephanie, I thought you were saying like 20. So I just wanted to get a new
20.
application through the approval process.
Sounds like an auction.
And also wrap up and close out the existing one. There are aspects of that need to happen too as part of this, right?
Right. I mean, there's three, I'll call it three distinct parts to it. There is, there's wrap up your old one when it expires, because we have to close that out. That's one set of service, not services, but work that has to be done. There is the quarterly reporting that needs to get done. And that's a byproduct of, consultation with you, Barry, about what's been collected, information that you've got that we'll have to get from you. And then there's the new application. My $5,000 number was how much effort do we need to put in yet in your current fiscal year to get moving forward on that. It's about $20,000 total for the new application through approval. And then the remainder of the budget that we've got is doing that quarterly report and then the closeout that would get us through the end of calendar year 26.
And I'm personally suspecting that if I'm essentially doing the quarterly reporting now, that Kyle would probably wants to be doing that based on everything he's communicated in his interview, that he likes to do things and bring them in-house. So I'm not necessarily thinking that the quarterly reporting will be a requirement going forward.
Right.
But throwing an application and that process onto a new manager as he's starting up and sorting out a lot of other things, I think that is actually something that I wouldn't want to be asking Kyle to be doing at this time when we have other resources that could do that. So my recommendation would be to utilize Mead and Hunt for closing out the existing when it is complete and doing the process of the new application, but not at this point for a reporting. So their total number in this, what was presented here, was 40,000. I think it's really the 20,000 that we're focusing on as being critical path items for your consideration. Does that make sense?
And Barry, I would
Stephanie?
agree with you. I would agree with you. I mean, when we put this proposal together, it was the assumption that we were probably going to get a replacement manager that would not be comfortable and knowledgeable on how to do this. I think you're right that long-term Kyle will be in a position to do the management, the quarterly reports, et cetera, without our assistance. But the
I don't know,
time frame of yours expiring, I think, is a concern.
I'd kind of just like to ask him. I mean, he may say I can do it all, he may say I can't do it. I have no idea, what he'd say, but what I'd say is I'd like his opinion, really. And I'd also want to make sure that we're not, creating default delay, put ourselves in jeopardy of not collecting revenue that, we could have otherwise had we had certain things filed. So, it's my understanding there's a couple quarterly reports that are imminently due, immediately due.
And those are, I'm planning to do there, so.
Okay. Well, you know, can we schedule a conference call with Kyle and Mead and Hunt and you, Barry, on this topic and get his opinion? And, should we, in the interim, because I personally wouldn't want to kill a month between now and, you know, our next meeting. I think our options are to call a special meeting for the purpose of awarding a contract based on what Barry and Kyle recommend, or do we want to authorize $5,000 of expense to engage Mead and Hunt for, you know, work between now and June or September 30? What do you think, Karen?
If we have it.
Well, I think what we have is approximately $80-some thousand in our general fund that we would tap into. Is that a true understanding, Barry? My understanding to be true, where we would go for it? Okay, great. So could we start there? Would the board recommend a $5,000, up to, yeah, with Mead and Hunt in a call with Kyle and Barry? Thank you.
I'll support.
Thank you. Clerk, you want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Adam Dotz?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Dotz?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Mr. P. Cardy?
Yes.
To negotiate up to $5,000.
Time and material up to 5,000.
But if we approved you're negotiating that, you're gonna meet with me and
Oh.
talk about it, right?
Well, can we,
Or you're
Well-
just gonna go for the contract?
No, so here's what I would say is that we get a contract with time and materials with, you know, up to $5,000. And then based on the conversation Ethan, myself, and Kyle have, we'll decide whether we're gonna spend it or not. So we may not spend any of it, right?
So it's just time and materials up to $5,000, you don't need the rest.
So Stephanie, can you rework this along those lines, kind of a short term, and then I'll work with you and Kyle to try to schedule a meeting to talk about this. Okay?
Can do,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
absolutely.
Comments by authority members. Karen, anything?
Nothing.
Preston, Uncle? Okay. All right. Well, next is adjournment. Thank you all very much.
Just been slumming. See you tonight.